If you're looking for the most ruthless monster version of John Cena, 2005 is it. Every PPV, every fight, Cena gave his blood, sweat, and soul. From his brutal, bloodthirsty clash with JBL to his ruthless quit match war with Batista, 2005 Cena was pure destruction. This was the peak of his dominance. The build to Royal Rumble 2005 had an almost chaotic feel, as WWE's annual over-the-top rope battle unfolded in front of a rambunctious crowd. Every entrant jockeying for position while the odds stacked against anyone hoping for a clean run to the finish. When Cena entered at number 25, he hit the ring with that unmistakable blend of intensity and urgency, something that he was still calibrating in his early main roster peak. The atmosphere was already electric, but Cena's entrance added a layer of hopeful tension because fans knew he was capable of incendiary moments, even if he wasn't yet the polished, reigning champion he would soon become. From the opening seconds, his presence was unmistakable. He barreled into the fray with powerful shoulder blocks that scattered bodies and halted momentum like a wrecking ball. He cut down opponents with methodical striking, every shoulder block clattering on impact, with a satisfying thud that echoed across the arena. There was a rawness to his aggression that night. Not quite finesse, but enough genuine intensity that opponents seemed genuinely wary of his presence. Rey Mysterio and Edge scrambled to avoid Cena's explosive attacks, while Batista, who had momentum of his own, charged into the mix with raw force. Cena's early run was revelatory in terms of strength. His offensive bursts cleared space and forced brief rallies from the crowd, but it was also riddled with the unpredictable pacing and split decision movement typical of someone still finding his footing in the unpredictable landscape of a 30-man free-for-all. The rhythm of the match was disorderly by design, a wild sprint that seemed engineered to keep the audience guessing who might stand tall last. Cena was visibly stalking for advantage and clearing the ring, dispatching several competitors with brute force and a couple of well-timed near eliminations. Each man tossed over the top rope was a testament to his developing accuracy in chaotic moments. But everything in that match pointed to the unpredictability. Even when two men touch the floor at the same time, it's chaos. And chaos was exactly what Cena was navigating. In the final stretch of the bout, it boiled down to him and Batista, both men breathing hard and covered in sweat, each alternately trying to hoist the other up and send him over the ropes. Batista, a mountain of raw power himself, countered Cena's attitude adjustment attempt, turning the late match into a pressing battle of strength and leverage. Their shoulders teetered on the edge of elimination, and in a near-deadlock moment, neither man wanted to concede. The referees restarted the Rumble with just the two of them left, per Vince McMahon's controversial decision, and after a tense exchange, Batista planted Cena with a decisive spine buster, sending him tumbling to the floor and winning the match. Cena's exit was abrupt. No championship opportunity, just another notch in the unpredictable narrative WWE was telling around the Rumble. Cena's performance in that Royal Rumble may not have netted him a title shot, but it did reveal crucial components of his persona: explosive strength, a growing crowd connection, and a willingness to go toe-to-toe with the biggest athletes on the roster. But at this juncture, it still felt like Cena was being refined under pressure rather than emerging fully formed, reliant on momentum and raw physicality rather than masterful ring psychology. That reliance on brute force and energetic pacing would soon be tested in a very different context at No Way Out in February. No Way Out 2005 took place in Pittsburgh with a far more focused canvas, a one-on-one battle between Cena and Kurt Angle, with the reward of a WrestleMania 21 WWE Championship match hanging in the balance. The venue was more intimate and intense, and from the first lockup, it was clear this was not the free-for-all spectacle of the Royal Rumble, but a calculated proving ground. Angle, a decorated technician whose Olympic pedigree translated seamlessly into ring savvy, circled Cena with sharp awareness, probing for openings and punishing every limb that presented itself. Cena's approach was still fundamentally power-based: explosive shoulder blocks, gut punches, and a few well-placed corner splashes, but Angle's technical acumen denied him the easy narrative beats he had relied on in the Rumble. The early exchanges featured a contrast in styles that became the core story of the match, Angle's position and precision versus Cena's raw momentum and burgeoning charisma. Whenever Cena charged, Angle slipped a hold or transitioned smoothly into crisp arm drags that snapped Cena right back down to earth. There was a rhythm here that demanded respect. Cena's heavy strikes had obvious impact, yet Angle's counters, snaring wrists, flipping into ankle locks, slowed him methodically and added layers of tension that had been absent from the Rumble's chaos. Cena absorbed each reversal with a grimace, selling the wear on his body and spinning the crowd into a dynamic of anticipation and empathy. Near falls were carried by Angle's ability to flip Cena's corner strikes into precarious headlocks or bridging pins that fooled the audience into thinking the match was on a razor's edge. As the contest wore on, Cena's offense grew more calculated. He snapped an Angle slam attempt into a backbreaker, driving the momentum briefly in his direction, and followed up with a series of heavy, rapid shoulder blocks that forced Angle to cover up defensively. Cena's trademark attitude adjustment was teased several times, the crowd's reaction growing louder with each near attempt, as if the audience itself was urging Cena to step up his game. Yet every time it seemed like Cena might hit his finisher, Angle slipped out with an expert pivot or a timely counter that forced a reset. The finish came unexpectedly clean. After a prolonged exchange of reversals, Angle ducking a charging shoulder block, Cena avoiding a German suplex, Cena lifted Angle into a thunderous attitude adjustment that landed with brutal clarity. That final moment was pure visual impact. No prolonged setup, no over-the-top theatrics, just Cena planting the Olympic hero onto the mat, hard enough to end the match and earn a WrestleMania title opportunity. In that moment, Cena moved past mere strength and into decisive execution, a potent reminder that while his style was still built on force, he could indeed land in the right place at the right time. WrestleMania 21's electric atmosphere was impossible to ignore as John Cena made his way to the ring to face John Bradshaw Layfield for the WWE Championship. The Staples Center crowd was split, but Cena's entrance elicited enough cheers that you could feel the buzz. This was a chance for him to finally step out of the mid-card and into the very top tier. When the bell sounded, the two men locked up with Cena immediately, trying to assert himself with fast shoulder blocks that pushed JBL back. JBL responded with a clubbing shoulder that snapped Cena's head back and earned a brief applause from the crowd, as if to say, "You're gonna have to do better than that." The early portion of the match was a tug-of-war of strength and control. JBL used slick wrist control and body shots to slow Cena down, peppering him with sharp strikes that forced Cena into defensive positions. Cena tried to fire up with a flurry of heavy strikes and corner thrusts, but JBL's clutch counters kept him from running away with the bout. One of the most telling sequences came when Cena lifted JBL for a power slam, only for JBL to wriggle free and fire back with a spinebuster that drew gasps from the crowd. The back-and-forth rhythm was the sort of exchange fans talk about for weeks, with Cena fighting through each aggression and chanting echoing throughout the arena. Midway through, Cena took control after a well-timed reversal into a backbreaker that visibly shook JBL. Cena capitalized, driving JBL to the mat with a series of heavy blows, each punctuated by a cheer that grew louder with every near-fall attempt. The crowd was invested, sensing that this was the moment Cena could change everything. As he climbed the momentum, JBL attempted his trademark clothesline from hell, but Cena ducked and swiftly transitioned into a spin-out slam, followed by a five-knuckle shuffle that had the building buzzing. The finish came when Cena hoisted JBL high and drove him down with an attitude adjustment that reverberated through the ring. It was clean, visual, and decisive, a defining moment that finally cemented Cena as WWE Champion. When Judgment Day rolled around in May, the stakes were a notch higher. The event was held at the Target Center in Minneapolis, and Cena returned to defend his newly won WWE Championship against JBL in an I Quit match. This wasn't about points or near falls. This was about sheer will, and the only way to win was to make your opponent say those two dreaded words. From the opening bell, the match was physical and relentless. Before pin attempts even mattered, JBL wrenched Cena into a headlock and refused to let go, showcasing that he wasn't here to play. He was here to maim. Cena powered out, but a quick shoulder block from JBL sent him staggering to the floor. and the two brawled out among the crowd with JBL's DDT on concrete, bringing an early shock factor. Back in the ring, JBL didn't bother with subtlety. He whipped Cena into the ring post, choked him with a belt, and repeatedly demanded he say, "I quit." Each time Cena shook his head, the crowd roared in support, and Cena refused to relent. The intensity of the carnage escalated quickly. JBL nearly pile-drived Cena through the announce table, only for Cena to backdrop him through another table in retaliation. Bodies smashed glass screens and steel steps alike, the sounds of impact echoing off the arena walls. Blood mixed with sweat as each man staggered under the punishment of the other's offense. At one point, JBL got his hands on Cena's championship belt and used it as a weapon, choking Cena around the ring post again and again, prompting chants of "Cena" from the crowd. Cena, busted open and furious, rallied with his trademark combination of punches, a hip toss, a spinning side slam, a 5-knuckle shuffle, and finally a massive attitude adjustment that left JBL reeling. Outside the ring was where the match truly found its rhythm. The two combatants brawled over to JBL's limousine, trading strikes that dented metal and smashed glass. Cena's backbreaker on top of the limo roof drew visceral reactions from those watching live. In the chaos near the equipment truck, JBL attempted to hang Cena with a cable before Cena nailed him with the microphone, driving him through a table. By the time Cena ripped an exhaust pipe off the semi-trailer and raised it overhead, even JBL knew the fight was over. With a shaky voice, JBL finally muttered the words, "I quit," ending the match in a bloody war that stood as one of Cena's fiercest defenses of his fledgling title reign. Late June brought Vengeance 2005 in Las Vegas, where Cena's championship was on the line in a triple threat match against Chris Jericho and Christian. The setup itself promised unpredictability, two challengers operating under different styles, both capable of clever counters and technical offense. From the outset, Jericho and Christian gave Cena no breathing room, landing quick strikes and trying to isolate him with tandem teamwork. Christian, darting and fast, forced Cena into quick-thinking defensive positions, while Jericho applied calculated holds that tested Cena's stamina early. Cena weathered the early flurries and shifted into a power-based offensive. Shoulder blocks to Christian sent him reeling into the corner, and a sudden suplex on Jericho shook up the pace of the match. The three men traded blindsides like heavyweight boxers, explosive and unforgiving. At one point, Christian's speed allowed him to spring off the ropes and whip Cena into a bulldog, but Cena fought back with incredulous strength, catching Christian mid-stride and driving him with a backbreaker that forced a break. Jericho tried to capitalize with a quick lionsault, but Cena rolled through, keeping himself competitive. The climax came after a blur of near falls and counters. Cena dodged a dropkick from Jericho, spun Christian around, and hoisted him for the attitude adjustment. The impact was definitive, the referee's hand hitting 3 counts with authority as Cena retained the WWE Championship. The crowd erupted at the resolution, the triple threat's chaos ending with clear dominance, showing that even with multiple threats in the ring, Cena's focus and timing could still prevail. The tension in the air at SummerSlam 2005 was thick. The MCI Center in Washington, D.C. buzzing as Cena's music hit, and the WWE Championship match against Chris Jericho was about to begin. Once the bell rang, those promos translated into action. Jericho didn't wait for an opening. He struck early with a sharp dropkick that snapped Cena off balance and energized the audience with the sense that this would be a real fight. Cena fired back with a back body drop that drove Jericho into the corner, and, for a moment, the clash of styles. Jericho's agility and cunning against Cena's explosive power set the rhythm for the match. Jericho kept the pace hectic, countering Cena's early offense with snap suplexes and a spinning heel kick that reminded everyone just how technically adept he was. Cena absorbed the blows and responded with clotheslines that lifted Jericho off his feet, crowd chants of "Let's go Cena" mixing with "Let's go Jericho" in a back and forth that mirrored the action in the ring. At one point, Jericho locked in the walls of Jericho, wrenching at Cena's back before Cena powered free, forcing Jericho outside the ropes with a shove that sent him tumbling to the floor. The drama was tangible, every exchange punctuated by roars or gasps as momentum visibly swung from one man to the other. Mid-match, Cena stumbled with a missed leaping shoulder block, giving Jericho the opening to follow up with a pendulum backbreaker and a series of elbow drops to Cena's back. Each strike was measured to wear Cena down, creating visible damage that Jericho could exploit. Fans who had cheered Cena's power shifts suddenly quieted as Jericho targeted specific pressure points, forcing Cena to readjust his strategy. But when Cena connected with a spinning sidewalk slam and followed it up with his trademark five-knuckle shuffle, the crowd reignited, rising to its feet in anticipation. Cena seized the moment, hoisting Jericho onto his shoulders and delivering a thunderous attitude adjustment that planted Jericho for the decisive pinfall. The finish was clean and explosive, the sort that left the audience exhilarated. Yet subtle in its execution was the fact that Cena's path to victory relied heavily on weathering flashes of brilliance from Jericho before closing with his signature power game. When Unforgiven 2005 rolled around in Oklahoma City, the dynamic shifted entirely. Instead of the explosive interplay of athletic counters and power, the match took on a sense of calculated breakdown as Cena defended the WWE Championship against Kurt Angle. There were no wild chants or immediate offensive flurries. Instead, Angle attacked with surgical precision from the opening lockup. He snapped Cena down into a side headlock and transitioned into a hammerlock, forcing Cena to readjust at every turn. Angle's strikes were sharp, stiff uppercuts and well-placed stomps on Cena's limbs, and from the start, it was evident this would be a technical battle, not just a showcase of brute strength. Cena tried to blunt Angle's momentum with a quick hip toss and a pair of shoulder blocks that drove Angle into the corner, but Angle slipped out cleanly, using a German release suplex to keep Cena off balance. Angle followed with a series of right hands and uppercuts in the corner, each impact punctuated by the crowd's shifting reactions as they gauged the ebb and flow of control. Angle's methodical approach, wrenching holds, alternating snap suplexes, and perfectly timed transitions, made every effort by Cena to strike back look like a hard-won concession rather than a natural flow. Cena did land a big clothesline followed by a flying shoulder tackle, but it was an uphill climb. Every offensive flourish met with a calculated counter by Angle that reminded the audience why he was an Olympic gold medalist and master of control. As the match progressed, Cena's offense grew more desperate. He executed a spinebuster that drew a strong near fall and swung the live crowd back in his favor, but Angle responded by locking in a waistlock and grinding Cena down with a body scissors, wearing away at his stamina. Each shift in control was hard-earned, and while Cena's power base allowed him to absorb more punishment than most, Angle's systematic attack kept pace with every surge Cena attempted. The crowd gasped as Cena's ankle was targeted repeatedly, forcing him to sell each hold with visible signs of struggle, limping toward the ropes, reaching desperately for breaks, and gritting his teeth as Angle maintained pressure. The finish came not in pinfall, but in a controversial disqualification. Cena fought his way back from yet another ankle lock attempt, reversing the hold and knocking Angle toward Eric Bischoff at ringside. In a moment that stunned many watching, Cena grabbed the WWE Championship belt and struck Angle with it, and as the referee regained his senses, he called for the bell. Angle was declared the winner by disqualification, but because titles do not change hands on a disqualification, Cena retained the WWE Championship. The crowd's reaction was mixed, some cheering the champion's survival, others booing the contrived finish. And the way the bell rang underscored that sometimes Cena's title defenses in 2005 were as much about narrative twists as in-ring dominance. In the chaos that followed, Angle continued the assault, only for Cena to rally, sending Angle crashing through a table with an impromptu attitude adjustment at ringside, before finally reclaiming his space and his title belt. The unusual atmosphere of Taboo Tuesday 2005 came from the very concept, a WWE pay-per-view held on a Tuesday, and one where fans got to choose a competitor. Inside the iPay1 Center in San Diego, that choice brought Shawn Michaels into the WWE Championship triple threat with John Cena and Kurt Angle. Cena entered as the defending champion, title glinting under the arena lights, while the boos and cheers fused into a buzzing buzz of anticipation. Angle's intensity was immediate. His stoic walk to the ring carried the promise of technical precision, and Michaels' confident flourish suggested he was ready to steal the show. As the bell rang, the crowd settled into a charged silence before the match erupted into frantic action. Angle jumped Cena quickly, backing him into the corner with stinging forearms and a snap suplex that drew a sharp reaction from the crowd. Michaels took advantage of the momentary distraction, leaping in with crisp chops and a sudden flying forearm that sent Cena sprawling. The triple threat format meant there was no time to rest. Cena had to juggle two different offensive styles. Each time he attempted a string of heavy shoulder blocks or a back body drop, Angle or Michaels broke the momentum with a well-timed counter. A German suplex from Angle here, a slick chin lock from Michaels there. At times, Cena looked like the dominant force, but the match's structure kept pinning the spotlight more on survival and reaction than outright control. The early stretch of the bout saw Michaels and Angle briefly work together to isolate Cena, trading chops and power moves before Angle sent Cena to the outside with a belly-to-belly suplex. While Cena regrouped on the floor, Michaels chopped at him relentlessly, reminding the audience that this match was as much about timing and opportunistic offense as it was about raw power. When Cena finally regained his bearings, he fired back with a spinning slam that staggered Angle, followed by his trademark five-knuckle shuffle that brought the crowd to its feet once more. But with two opponents ever ready to double-team him, those comeback flurries felt almost reactive, designed to keep him alive rather than allow him to dictate the match's rhythm. Midway in, Angle locked in his patented ankle lock on Cena, wrenching with expert leverage and forcing Cena to struggle for leverage toward the ropes. Michaels broke the hold with a diving elbow drop from the top rope, a moment that momentarily shifted momentum and reminded everyone of his veteran instincts. Near falls piled up as each wrestler fired off accelerations of offense, and the crowd's energy oscillated between chants for Cena and appreciation for the challenger's clever counters. The finish finally came when Cena found just enough opening to catch Michaels with a sudden attitude adjustment FU and hooked the leg for the clean pinfall. Cena retained the WWE Championship, but the way the match unfolded, with Cena often on the defensive and relying on opportunistic bursts for offense, underscored that his victory stemmed as much from surviving the challenger's coordination as from his own power game. In contrast, Survivor Series 2005 opened with a starkly serious tone in Detroit's Joe Louis Arena. Instead of a Tuesday novelty, this was a traditional Sunday pay-per-view, with tension built from weeks of narrative build-up. Cena defending the WWE Championship against Kurt Angle with Daivari as special guest referee, a choice that immediately hinted at bias before the bell even rang. Angle walked down the aisle with purposeful steps, the crowd mixing chants of support and disdain for both competitors, while Cena's entrance elicited a surge of loud, "Let's go Cena" calls. The referee situation, Daivari was known to favor Angle, raised uncertainties in the air, making the match feel like a battle of wills as much as a battle of bodies. Once the match began, Angle targeted Cena's ankle and leg early, applying leverage holds and wrenching shots that kept Cena pressed on the defensive. The announcers noted how Daivari subtly interfered with Cena's rope breaks, frustrating the champion and firing up the crowd's energy in response. Cena fought back with a crisp shoulder tackle and an impactful spinebuster that drew a near fall, but Angle repeatedly countered with his technical grappling and calculated strikes. Cena's offense, when it came, leaned on his signature power moves, clotheslines, back body drops, and a fisherman's suplex, but often felt like flashes of strength rather than sustained domination, as Angle's counters and Daivari's reluctance to count quick pins kept pulling him back into a survival mode. The match's middle portion was defined by chaos and referee bumps. Cena drove Angle into the guardrail, then executed a significant sequence of shoulder blocks and clotheslines before firing up the crowd with a high crossbody attempt. Angle responded with a belly-to-belly suplex for a near fall, underscoring his technical mastery and ability to shift momentum's direction. Multiple referees entered and were knocked out in quick succession. Daivari, Chad Patton, and Mickey Henson each took a tumble before SmackDown official Charles Robinson finally hit the ring to officiate. That succession of officials, while chaotic, ensured that the ending would come down to clean pinfall and not bias. Ultimately, Cena rallied with a renewed burst of offense, a five-knuckle shuffle, followed by another attitude adjustment that planted Angle firmly in the center of the ring. Robinson counted 3, and Cena retained the WWE Championship once again. This finale brought the crowd to its feet, but the narrative arc, dominated by deliberate interference and multiple referee bumps, made Cena's victory feel less like an athletic triumph and more like a gritty battle overcome piece by piece. The logic of the match framed Cena as the resilient champion, yet much of the dramatic tension stemmed from the external obstacles placed between him and a straightforward victory. And there it is, every PPV, every moment, every survival-heavy win that defined John Cena's 2005. Not always clean, not always dominant, but always enough to keep him at the top. By the end of the year, the title stayed with Cena, even if the matches often did not.